Help me. The gravity's off. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, there's the wall. What is up, dudes and dudettes to the internet? My name's Scythe, and we are back again with some more Astroneer, the final frontier. Now, you'll have to excuse folks. I know that people that have been tuning into this series are wondering, where's the next Astroneer? Where's the next Astroneer? I've been getting insanely busy, and the game has also been getting a little bit grindy. So I kind of did a lot of stuff off camera. As you can see, I got a whole bunch of different recipe items here that we're going to end up jumping right on in and researching. And before we get started today, I would very much appreciate if you would hit that like button. Thank you so much if you do. Now, there's one thing that is a little bit disappointing. You know what? Let's actually go for the cool looking thing. One thing that's disappointing about this game that I am learning very, very fast off camera, not necessarily in the series itself, but I've been messing around in multiplayer with a couple of the guys, right? And needless to say, why can I not research this? We have enough power, why can I not research it? It won't let us research anything else anymore. I think we broke the game. Well, needless to say, I've been spending lots of time in multiplayer, right? And kind of finding out this battery's broken and not going to work, is it? Kind of been finding out the limitations of this game and just finding that, unfortunately, one of the biggest things about Astroneer, which does kind of hold, the game does hold its own as being amazing, and I absolutely love it. But the fact of the matter is that there's not really any content outside of the first planet, you know what I mean? Like, generally speaking, it seems like all you do is create a living on the first planet, and then any other planet afterwards, you're just kind of repeating that process, you know? Now, I still love this game. I really, really do enjoy it, like, so much. But it kind of came as a bit of a shock to me very, very quickly when it was like, there's no new blueprints. There's no new nothing. There's nothing else. Like, we have actually... Oh, excuse me here. We've actually experienced everything that this game has to offer, and now the only difference is that we're on a different generated planet. But as you can see, you know, the frame rate's not necessarily stable right now on this planet, and just in general, it doesn't seem to handle itself as well as the first one. Like, what ended up happening in the last episode when we ended up just being back at our home world, it made me nostalgic, oddly enough. Like, nostalgic made me feel like excited to be back there, to experience that world again, and not as pumped for this ice world that we're on right now, because what I think would be kind of a cool feature is, at the moment anyways, you should be able to pick your home world, kind of like pick your difficulty, you know? Because that's really all that the other planets end up offering, is different levels of difficulty, but not really having that much else in terms of like content and stuff. And honestly speaking, I don't even know why I came down here, folks, honestly. Honestly speaking, the most exciting aspect of this game is actually starting over, you know? Like, I don't know how many times I've started like a new file over and over in multiplayer, just messing around, and it's so fun, you know, like gathering the resources and everything like that. Now, one thing that we haven't really got to experiment with, despite the fact that we do now have a truck, this battery doesn't seem to be actually generating power, which is stupid. But the big thing that we kind of really got to, the last thing that we kind of have to do and experiment with is the crane on the back of our rover and stuff. But we don't really have that many resources. Compound is insanely hard to get on this planet here. So I'm going to shut up, and we're going to actually rocket back home again. This is essentially going to be the final episode of our Astroneer playthrough until they end up adding some more content, folks. Sorry to say to the people that are interested in the series, but I'm just finding that I have a lot less of my personal time to invest to the series and stuff, and because of it, you know, that's just kind of all there really is to it. So I wanted to kind of end off today's episode with checking out the crane because I checked that out in multiplayer and it is beautiful. And then on top of that, I want to actually go and show you all the other planets because we've got so much fuel. We may as well take a peek just so that we technically have explored everything in the entire series, you know. We've seen the ice planet, it's really cool, and I can kind of give you a little bit of a rundown of the other planets because I've messed around on them a lot off camera. Alright, while I'm waiting for the other planets in the rotation up in the space there, so that we actually get into the orbit of the other one, while we're killing time for that, I thought we would try and experiment with something here. I've been wanting to try something like this out for quite some time, where we can put the, we can put the seat on the rover. Okay, good. But then, if we get this rover up and over here, because in order to actually have the crane, you're gonna have to have like a total of 4 slots, right? So if we take this chair off of the rover, can we? Yeah! So we can just put the crane on solid. Okay, that's cool. But unfortunately, I don't know if we have enough copper right now, so we might have to, I might have to take a little bit of a trip. Alright, so let's grab ourselves some oxygen and see whether or not hopefully we can find ourselves some copper. It shouldn't be too difficult. I'm gonna try and stay to the higher, the higher tiers and the higher floors as far as the depth is concerned. Because if we end up going too deep, I think that's aluminum. If we end up going too deep, then we're gonna end up missing out on the ore. Yeah, this is just aluminum, right? Right? Laterite, yeah, that's aluminum, but there's some copper behind it. Goody goody gumdrops. I mean, I have to try and remember my way out. There was a bunch more copper over there as well. Whoops, looks like I grabbed a bit too much energy and not enough oxygen, so hopefully we don't end up dead from doing this, but oh, never mind, we got plenty of oxygen. It's just that our tank is draining because the oxygen that we picked up doesn't count? Is it not registering? This game really likes to do that a lot. Oh, okay, now it's actually working. So let's get rid of this extra power. We don't need the fuel because we can just make that ourselves very, very easily. And then let's grab this extra thing right here and head on out. I also hear, yeah, I thought I heard a sandstorm. Okay, anyways, let's try and forge some of these right here so that we can end up making the crane. And then we're also going to have to actually check out the 3D printer. Where's my 3D printer? And find out what it costs to make the drill. Hopefully that one's gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be more copper, so it's a good thing that we grabbed as much as we did, because the way that the crane works, near as I can tell, I don't know if it ends up working with anything else, folks. Maybe it secretly does, but if you end up putting the drill bit on the crane, it actually will, end up using it, and you can use it very effectively to drill while on the vehicle, and then it's gonna put any of the resources into storage and stuff, right? So let me just craft both of these. Maybe there's other things that we could attach to the drill. Or attach to the crane right here. I don't know. Can we actually attach storage though? That's the question. To the side of it, no, we cannot. So unless it's actually connected to another vehicle, that's the biggest thing that I want to see is the game smart enough that it's going to actually put the resources onto this car just because they're both going to be connected, you know what I mean? All right, perfect. We got a solar panel picking things up, and we got some compound back here. So let's get into the drill. Or the crane, I keep calling it the drill. And then if we hold the click, oh man, look at that. And the big advantage to this thing is that this is actually free power right here. You know, like we're actually just using the power of the drill. You know, it's not taking any of our power resources or consumption off of our suit, and most certainly not taking any resources off of our car's battery or anything. But unfortunately, the game doesn't seem to be smart enough to actually be putting these resources onto the other car that we are currently running. So That's unfortunate, but at the least, you know, it's still fine. That's still good. It's still a very easy way of gathering the resources, you know. If you ever need to just run out and kind of do a rush job, or if you end up getting the opportunity to squeeze this bad boy down into a cave, then it can end up working very well as well. Now, this usually ends up happening as well. I had this happen in a lot in multiplayer worlds where the resource will actually get stuck and not be able, you won't be able to actually do anything with it, which is unfortunate and weird. These planets really do not want to get in our rotation. It'd be cool if you could end up upgrading different aspects of your ship so that you could actually have like a wider range of where you could fly to, or just kind of fly and navigate out in the universe a little bit more openly. Now, granted, I honestly do hope that this is the total amount of planets that this game is ever going to end up having. Radiated Planet, here we come. Because then it means they can have as focused an experience as they have on the first planet on all the other ones, right? That would be really, really cool. Okay, so now we actually get to check out this Radiated Planet. We're just gonna land right away, and it's not like No Man's Sky or anything like that. It's not like we're just taking damage as we're landing on the planet or anything like that. I don't know why they call it radiated. Maybe there's just more acid-spitting plants or something like that. Woo! In general, oh, this is a desert planet. This isn't radiated. So I mentioned this way back in the first episode, and even the first look that I took at this game, kind of just explaining the different planets that I ended up discovering. And this one is a desert planet, but as you can see, there's lots and lots of wind going on. And because of that, you can use the turbines very effectively, because as you see in the distance, the rotation of this planet is insanely fast compared to the rest. And it also has insanely deadly sarlacc pits. So there's these suckers right here, which, oh, don't roll into them, you freak. These things will just one-shot you as soon as you end up rolling into them. They're absolutely terrifying, and they just eat your face, like seriously. Also, you can find some crazy, I don't know what that is in the distance, but you can find some alien ruins. It's not as exciting as it sounds like. It's just kind of bones of aliens, or just bones in general, I guess, like giant creature type bones. And I think it would be really cool if this game ended up kind of exploring upon that a little bit later, and maybe having some creatures that would actually walk or something. But maybe it won't work with the world generation, right? I'm fine with my acid spitting plants. Just put a little bit more response into the game so that I actually know when I'm taking damage. Okay, so here we've got the Arid Planet. Looks like we're getting really lucky by having all of these right beside each other in such a small, like quick formation, so I don't have to make as many cuts. We flew through that planet, hilarious. And also, just as we're kind of talking about like all the end game stuff of this game, I do want to mention that with all of the planets, you can actually mine to the center. I don't know if you can necessarily mine to the center and all the way out to the other side or anything, but needless to say that there is actually a special resource inside the center of the planets that you can't mine at the moment. So I'm assuming that that's going to end up coming into play maybe a little bit later down the line as the game ends up getting a little bit more development. Let me just make this terrain a little flat. Flatten this out so that we can end up getting up here, take a nice scenic view up from this hill, and show you this beautiful planet right here, because this one's pretty neat. This one's kind of like a moon. I mean, you can kind of already see that anyways, but it's pretty neat just because of all the chasms that it has. You know, it's very rocky, and you can see there's these weird spike ball things flying through the air, which is terrifying and destroys you. Like, that's the thing about these other planets, is they definitely have, like, that's kind of why I said, like, it's like it would be cool if you could select these as different difficulties, because that's kind of all that these planets have, really, is varying threats. You know, so this one's kind of always got this sandstorm of spikes going on. That was almost gonna hit me. I'm scared. While also, you know, the resources are gonna be spread out a little differently, not to mention because the terrain itself is just a lot harder to navigate. It just ends up being very, very cool, but it's really tough to survive on this planet. I ended up attempting most of that stuff on the multiplayer, like I said, rather than doing it in the series, unfortunately. So we'll probably never get to experience stuff like this until this game ends up actually updating and fleshing out these other planets. All right, let me just take a quick little pass right here, make sure that we've explored everything. Okay, so there's our starting planet, the moon, the Arid Planet we just went to, which isn't the desert. The radiated one that just went out of orbit is the desert. And then there's our Tundra Planet, and now we're on the final planet of the Astroneer series, which is the exotic planet. And because that's kind of the thing, folks, is all you can really do in this game right now is just rebuild your base from scratch on any of the different planets, and this one is actually one of my favorite. It might even top the main homeworld planet just because of how cool it is. Like, we're gonna spend, this is kind of why we ended up getting really lucky by having this as our last planet, because it's got like these really weird trees, lots of vegetation, and in general is just very exotic, right? Like, it's just, there's something about it that's really cool. And I've seen like a couple different areas. Let me actually get ourselves some tethers here so that we can go out and explore a little bit. But there's all sorts of really cool stuff on this one. You know, there's a nice big green area, lots of vegetation, as I just mentioned too, and the caves themselves too. Let's actually take a peek. We got acid spitting plants on the surface, however, because we are talking about a planet full of plants, which does mean that there's gonna be lots of exotic plants, lots of deadly ones as well. But the caves, okay, so the caves have coal commonly. That's kind of the thing. The only real resource in this game that ends up being like a rarer one on other planets and common on certain ones is coal. Coal always ends up being one of the weirder resources. And then, of course, you know, on certain other planets you can get lithium. I don't think you can actually mine lithium on the main planet. I think you always have to go to another one. But as you can see, unfortunately, the frame rate is just getting absolutely insane. The cave is very, very closed off, though, and doesn't seem to be that deadly, which is pretty cool. So I wanted to kind of see whether or not there was actually an end to it. No, it just ends right then and there. Okay, so let's just dig our way up to the surface, which is probably going to take a little while, and unfortunately we don't really have that much power, so I might have to just go back, unfortunately. I mean, for all we know, I'm digging up into a mountain, but this shiny grass tells me that we must be getting close to the surface, right? There we go, that's what I was waiting for. Okay, perfect. So let's get out of here. That plant looks like it has a face on it. It's terrifying. And gotta try and... Come on, game. The frame rate is getting so bad in this game. Like, seriously. There we go. No, don't get destroyed and go to the center of the Earth. All right, so very, very cool to be sure. Not really that much in terms of content and stuff to do. Which you know, I've kind of seen people saying that in the comments on the episodes, and just people in the Discord and stuff have generally said that they got the game, they thought it looked really, really interesting, and then they kind of ended up getting bored with it right away. Like, this game is definitely not for everybody. I'll say that, for, like, just honestly, but it's definitely a game for me. Like, I really, really enjoy this game for sure. It's just that there isn't really that much to do right now. And until there is an update, and if there ever is an update for sure, I'll end up coming back to this one, especially with how quickly you can get through the beginning of the game if you're just kind of running and know what you're doing. Like, you just kind of rush the compound, rush the resin, jump into the caves, grab some oxygen and power, go and get yourselves all the ore, and there you go. Then you're already all set and ready to rocket off to outer space, right? So at least this game has that. That's the one thing that I really enjoy about it too, is the fact that it can play surprisingly fast, considering the type of game that it is, you know, because there's lots of games out there that have very, very slow beginnings and stuff. Like, there's another game that's a voxel game called Stellar Overload, and that game takes, like, it added some new content, and it takes like an hour or two to get through the start of the game just so you can see the new content, you know, because every time there's an update, it erases your file, which I hope that they don't end up doing with Astroneer. If they don't end up erasing my file, then we're good, because then we've already got all the resources and stuff. But either way, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Very much appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the series, everybody, and I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Just thought we'd go and check out the entire world and everything like that. Perfect timing, too, because here comes a sandstorm. I would also appreciate if you would hit that like button, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. There is going to be more Astroneer, but when it's a little bit more developed. Sign on and stay epic, everybody.